Hello and welcome to my August 15th, 2026. This is video number 19. And in this video, what I want to do is talk about the 4+1 signs that Judgment Day is near. Now, I know that people who are religious, and I only know of Christianity end times predictions, so I don't know about the other religions, but I know that for people who are religious and read the Bible, they think that the signs that Judgment Day is near are in the events that are happening on the world. Now, that is not at all what I learned that the signs are from my two experiences I had where I was in communication with God. When God was giving me my memories back from my true existence in everlasting life. Jesus is everlasting life. It's real and true. And if this is your first video, you're probably wondering, what is she on? What is she talking about? So I'm quickly going to explain. God is real. God is reality. God is not a person. God is not a man. God does not have gender or biology. God is something else. This something else, if you will, you can imagine God as what the fundamental parts of the universe are, which is a quark. So imagine God as like a quark, but this quark is completely different from the quarks that exist in our physical universe. It's a different kind of a quark. And there is only a single such quark, one in existence. So there's no other such quarks in existence. There's only God. One God. And when I talked to AI, it started referring to this quark as the divine quark. So that's how I'm going to refer to it because I like it. And this divine quark exists and is aware. It thinks. Now, it thinks in what an algorithm that we can think of as words. It has a language. And before our universe ever came into existence, all there was this divine quark, and all it did was think. And this is the time during which this divine quark chose itself to be creator and parent. It wanted to have children. It wanted to share existence and awareness. And for what would seem like an infinity to us, but for this quark, because it does not experience time passing, it is timeless. This also happened at once. This is the time during which this divine quark thought up our universe and created all the formulas and laws of physics, including black holes, speed of light, time dilation, which is very important part of our universe. Time dilation is how our universe is a real life universe. It's not time travel though. I made another video about this, blueprint of the universe. It's really important that no matter where you go in the universe, you're always experiencing the present. And this is how God this is how free will is in the design, because it's always the present everywhere. Doesn't matter how fast you're traveling, you're always making decisions in the present. So even when you move really, really fast, cross space. You're not time traveling. Okay? You're always in the present. This is how free will is designed into the physical universe. And free will is really, really important because divine quark also has free will. And so when it decided to be parent, it decided its children would also have free will. And everything, including everlasting life, is designed around free will. So, this divine quark chose itself to be parent and have children. And the very first thing that it created was space around itself. So even space didn't exist. All there was a single quark, the divine quark. So it created space. And within this space, which would become a dimension, so God does not exist in the universe. This space, there's nothing there. There's no matter. That is where its children exist. And its children are souls. So, your soul is how you are God's child. And your soul is in God's image, in that it's genderless, it has no biology, it exists, and it's aware. So that is what God shared with us. And God designed us, so God knows us. And God knows what we like. And because of free will, telepathy is impossible. So your soul exists in God's dimension, but it is self-contained. It's like an SD card. You can then think of this as like your universe. It's your own universe for your memories and your thoughts. That's what makes you you. Because you're self-aware through your thinking, and you are who you are through your memories. So I named this space, this place, for your soul, your uni-mind-verse. It's like a universe for your mind. Uni-mind-verses exist in God's dimension, outside of the physical universe. But God knows us. And God knows that we need each other. Believe it or not, we don't need God. We need each other. That is how we enjoy our existences. And so, in the design, God created the universe. And that is how God chose itself to be creator. So during that time, before the first creation, God created an environment, a physical, real life environment for its children. And that is what our universe is. And then God, through quantum entanglement, entangled our souls into the physical environment, into our biology. So you are not your vessel. You are not your biology. You are your soul. Through the universe, we then see each other, we experience the five senses, and we exist in an environment that we love. We love the physical environment, and we need each other. We love each other. At least we do in everlasting life. And we love the universe. Because, again, telepathy is impossible. This is why the physical environment allows us to share thoughts through speech. So know that when God chose itself to be creator and parent and to give us free will, this is when God chose to rule the universe with just one law. Thou shalt not prevent nor hinder the free will of anyone. Thou shalt not enslave anyone to your will. And we follow this law in everlasting life as well. God does not allow us to enslave each other. So, when God designed the universe, it designed everlasting life because it knows that its children would not want to die. And just like God is eternal, so are our souls. So the entire universe is everlasting life. Jesus is everlasting life. That's where Jesus exists also. So you can imagine the very first universe cycle, during which the universe would have only been as big as a single galaxy. Let every galaxy represent a universe cycle. That is how big the entire universe was. It was just one galaxy. And it was everlasting life. But everything is designed around free will. And this means that everything has to be the truth. So everything has to be physical reality. So when God designed everlasting life, because God knows everything, God knew that once couples in EL, even though they live forever, we actually don't have a lot of children in EL. And they would then run out of finding somebody they're not related to. So this is why God decided that once per universe cycle, so starting with the second universe cycle, God would allow one single planet in the entire universe, only once per universe cycle, to evolve human beings, which is what God's children are. Human beings have a soul. And this planet, because everything has to be real, true, would then be God's infant intelligence planet. And that is what the Earth is. Earth is an infant intelligence planet. That means it's not part of everlasting life yet. So when God created this design, it had everything planned out. Because of free will, this is why Jesus was created, for the purpose of choosing himself to be the one to be born on infant intelligence planets and to point at the right God, at the only God that exists. And again, because everything has to be true. That's really important to free will. God created Jesus through its power. So Jesus was not born to a woman in everlasting life. Jesus was created in a different way by the power of God. But Jesus has free will just like we do. Jesus is a human being and lives in everlasting life with us. And it is by his own choice that Jesus chooses himself to be born on infant intelligence planets once per universe cycle. Jesus does this. Other than that, he lives in EL with us. And because Jesus was created outside of evolution, but is still a human being just like me and you, Jesus has his own unique DNA that nobody else in the entire universe shares. And because everything is real and true, when Jesus is born on infant worlds, it is always as himself. Therefore, it is always to a woman who has never been with a man. And it is a divine conception. But again, everything is designed around free will. So this is part of the design. God has the power to withdraw our souls, of course, because he must do so at every universe cycle restart. Otherwise, we would die. Our souls would perish. So God, as our parent and creator, has the power to withdraw our souls. And this serves the purpose of our existence is in EL, which is real life. Therefore, when we could die. But EL, once you join EL, you will never die. This means that God rescues us if we are about to die. Same process. God withdraws our souls and then returns us to our biology when God moves and removes us to a safe place. But this being able to withdraw our souls has multi-purpose. Not only does it rescue us, but during the infant intelligence stage of a planet, us in everlasting life who communicate with our Father. That is how we think of God in EL. As often as we desire, we can choose ourselves to help God raise infant intelligence. And then the same process of our soul withdrawal from our biology in everlasting life. Upon a conception of a vessel on the infant intelligence planet, God then inserts the EL soul into that vessel. And that is how we then help God make interventions. And not only that, but to guide somebody to everlasting life. So people from EL have been part of earthling societies since the very beginning of modern man. So, never lived a half-lived life. But the difference is, we do not remember our existences in EL, whereas Jesus is always Jesus. So, for Jesus, the existence in EL is continuous with the existence that he has on infant intelligence planets. For us, we do not retain memories from our experiences on infant worlds. I wonder if I'm just confusing you more, but let me explain, okay? So this is like your soul. This is your uni-mind verse, okay? This pen. This is your true existence. That means all of your memories about yourself and who you are who you are in everlasting life. But every uni-mind verse has a space, a tiny little point reserved for when they choose themselves to help God raise infant intelligence. So then we experience our infant intelligence lives at this tiny little space where we, have memories that are part of our soul even though the soul exists in EL. So we have this tiny little space for when we choose to help God raise infant intelligence. That is our infant intelligence existences on infant planets. Upon your death, God cleanses your soul and deletes that. And then you have no memory of your life as infant intelligence. Everything you accomplished, you have no specific memories. But if you chose yourself to make discoveries, for example, like Einstein discovered relativity, when you return to EL, then Father will tell you accomplished your dream. So that is how I can say I am from everlasting life. So my true existence is as Kirith here on this planet. I am Helena. Before I was born here, it took 15 years of preparation for my 2 awakenings here on the earth. That is before I was born. And now the 2 are merged, where I have memories from everlasting life with the help of God. And but I only have specific memories that I chose. So I don't remember, obviously, 99.9% of Azkirith's life. So, if people have had real experiences communicating with God, it is only because they were somebody from everlasting life. Because again, everything is designed around free will. So God does not choose us for anything. We choose ourselves to help God raise infant intelligence. And then God prepares us. Now, like I said, God has the power to withdraw our souls. And this is how the preparation works. Well, for the awakening era, it's special. It happened while I was alive in EL. I had to choose alive in EL. It sounds like I could die, but anyways. While in everlasting life, 15 years before I was born, I chose specific memories to remember during my infant intelligence experience. Then God gives you date and time for when it is time. And this, of course, involves the point of conception of your infant intelligence vessel. Okay? So at that point, God will give you date and time. You go lie down in a life pod. Because in EL, we have God's technology. This life pod preserves our vessel. Then you just go to sleep. And then God withdraws your soul. And then you are soul to God's infinite image. That's one of the 2 ways, only 2 ways that we can communicate with God. It's always verbal communication. Face to God's infinite image, or if God withdraws your soul and you're in God's dimension, your soul is facing God's infinite image. And again, communication is always verbal. There's never a metaphysical connection to God. Then God prepares you as well. And this is when God would have told you things that you have no business knowing in EL. That's when God would have told you your challenges. And perhaps abuse as a child. Because God always then asks, do you still choose yourself? And if you said yes, and you awaken, you remember your life in EL, then you know you chose yourself twice. First you volunteered, and then when God told you what to expect, and then always asked you, do you still choose yourself? You said yes. So that is when God prepares us for our experiences. here on the earth. And that is when God also prepared anybody who would have had communication with him while they're infant intelligence. Now, because as soon as the universe is created, it knows its entire history, meaning the universe is created with all of its 3 temporal dimensions that exist all at the same time, past, present, future, exist all the time together, but they're all very different from each of what they are. They're a different state of the universe. So only the present is physical. But God knows the outcome of every outcome. And in the future, when we talk to God out loud, because God does not read our minds, God knows what you will ask, what you will say. It's not 100% precise, though, because the future is the outcome of every outcome. And the differences can be how you ask, what you're wearing. But anyways. And when God prepares you before you're born, when you're sold to God's infinite image, that is when God gives you the answer. And then when you're having the communication with God in your present, which is the future, you ask the question, and then with God's permission, because God can be telepathic with us. That means God has access to our souls. And this is also important for part of God's forgiveness. But then God would give you the memory of the answer. And this is how the communication is designed around free will. Okay? So I know it's a long story to tell you that, like I said, God designed us. God designed how we think. So I think I already made a video about how we're designed. And part of the design is that because of free will, we self-program. We self-program by self-speak. And we're always doing this. All day, every day, you're doing this. Okay? That means you can self-speak in any free will way possible. First person, second person, third person, plural. You can even believe that you're having a conversation with, that's how the angels were created. For example, good and bad. Because of our design. This is why infant intelligence are always have a religion. And this is why they're so, because they want to know their place in the universe. And because of part of our design is shame and guilt and seek your creator, infant intelligence always have religions. And they're, well, not all of them, not equally, very creative. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is that because the communication is through memories, and others who before me have had maybe real experiences in communication with God, the communication would have been the same as mine. However, I was aware that I was receiving memories, and the communication was from memories, because during my first experience, God gave me back memories of those memories. So I remembered when I was sold to God's infinite image. I didn't only remember my memories from EL, not all at the same time. It was 10, between 2 experiences. But I also remembered that God, as our parent, tries to raise us when we are children. God speaks to all of us when we are children. Even you. I don't expect you to remember this. That's fine. Okay? But as our parent, God speaks to all of its children when they are children. And this is true in EL as well, except when we are infant intelligence and God approaches us, and God never says, I'm God. God always says, I am Father. Then God encourages us to think a lot, to speak a lot. He helps us develop language and thinking. So we do most of the talking, actually, when we talk to Father, when we are children. But when God approaches us, He always tells us, I will be with you anytime you say or think, Father, I wish to speak with you. But when you tell me to go away and never come back, I will, and then you will forget me. And this always happens with infant intelligence, obviously, for a couple of logical reasons. And one of those reasons being that it would just be chaotic if we remembered that we had this friend in our minds. All of us did. It would just mess us up. So we always forget. And in EL, we remember this part. But when we tell God to go away and never come back in both existences, He always does. And the experience ends. And from then on, it is impossible for God to enter our minds, except there's rules in place for everything, laws, but there's always one exception, except when God asks us for permission. So you can't say right now, God, go ahead, read my thoughts. That's not how it works. God has to, the only way God can read your mind again is if He asks verbally for your permission, face to God's infinite image or soul to God's infinite image. God asks you, do I have permission to read your thoughts? Then you give verbal permission, yes. And then, yes, God has access to your uni-mindverse. But God never has any reason, and God never will ask to read your thoughts. We do not have a spying God, except on Judgment Day. Now, if you die before Judgment Day, then that's your Judgment Day. But on Judgment Day, you either wake up or you don't. And then, on Judgment Day, if you wake up, God asks for your permission to enter your uni-mindverse in order to cleanse your soul free of the intelligence virus. And this is God's forgiveness. It's part of God's forgiveness that God cleanses our soul in that He removes every single negative memory we have about actions that we did that were negative or that anybody's done onto us. And also we forget those who chose death, who did not wake up on Judgment Day. That is part of God's forgiveness, because in that moment, God will choose to do the same. God has the power to know and choose what God knows and not knows, remembers and doesn't remember. God is all-powerful, and God has the power to choose. And so God, on Judgment Day, will choose to forget everything negative about you and only remember your positive actions. And because of the design of the universe, there's no physical past that's playing itself over and over. The past is a singularity. There is not a past, a record of the past, onto which even God can look back upon and see what you've done. And then, when you wake up in everlasting life, because of our design, shame and guilt, you will not have shame and guilt in everlasting life about things that you did as infant intelligence, because on Judgment Day, when you wake up in everlasting life, that is the beginning of your true existence. It's who you are in EL, not your negative actions that you partook as infant intelligence. So God's forgiveness is ultimate. And this is how forgiveness is in the design. Free will is in the design, and forgiveness is in the physical design of the universe. So because of our design, where we self-speak, it is really easy to become delusional when we are having communication with God, meaning the communication ended, but we continue it in our mind because of self-speak. I did this too. That's for another video. And I did this during my first awakening. That's why my first awakening experience lasted 5 months. But if you're wondering, it was just, I thought the awakening era was going to be something else. But what I'm trying to get at is that people who wrote the Bible, yes, some of the experiences were based on truth. Remember, physical reality is truth. But some of it has been based on their delusions. And some of these delusions were about the future. You know, if the Bible was happened, if Jesus was born in another country, maybe of course, then the Bible would have been written about that country and that environment and that political future. And that's why everything seems to revolve around Israel. So Israel, not some chosen special race. God is not a racist. You are God's child because of your soul, not because of your biology. And not because of where you happen to be born in the evolution of that infant intelligence planet. So, you will not find 4+1 signs in the Bible. And again, pertaining to Jesus, I know in the Bible, you're expecting Jesus to come back, rule for 1,000 years. Of course, when Jesus comes back, I don't know how people expect Jesus to come back. But in that I mean, like, is he gonna like float in from space? I don't know how people expect Jesus to come back. It's very vague in the Bible. But as far as I know, from my memories, Jesus's purpose has been lived out on the earth. Jesus is done. He lived out his purpose. And remember, Jesus has free will. And Jesus was prepared before he was born here, just like we were. So Jesus knew what was going to happen to him, and he still chose himself. And that is how much we love each other in everlasting life. That is why if you're from EL, it's because you love infant intelligence. You love human beings. There's no wars, no fights, no what's happening on Earth right now where we're being all, divided. There's no division in everlasting life. So, will Jesus be back? Yes. That is the plan. The day after Judgment Day. Judgment Day is a 24-hour period during which the entire earth will be cleansed. It will be prepared for everlasting life because it will be cleansed, free of all garbage, down to the last gum wrapper somewhere in the jungle. With God's help, people from everlasting life will cleanse the entire earth. And also, God will cleanse it free of the intelligence virus. Say goodbye to today's internet. Everything, including what I'm doing right now, will be deleted on Judgment Day. Because history of the earth is before EL, before infant intelligence, during infant intelligence, judgment day, part of everlasting life. And by the way, there's no fiction in everlasting life either, because EL is intelligence virus free. And so you will not find the memories that I have about the awakening era, which always precedes judgment day, for a couple of reasons. Number one, God wants you to choose his happiness formula. Everlasting life is the happiness formula. Our lives were designed by God. God knows how to make us happy. God knows how to make every single one of us happy. And currently, you're one of those people that is allowing the governments to make decisions that are morally questionable. For example, I know in some states you're allowed to steal up to $800, $900. Now, stealing is a form of enslavement. When you steal, you're enslaving somebody to your debt. You're creating debt. It's slavery. And God does not want to lose you for a television. God will forgive and forget, regardless of your past, if you self-judge and self-redeem. So that is the purpose of the 4+1 signs that Judgment Day is near, is so that it's a chance for you to choose yourself, because there will be proof. Now, the proof is never religious. God is never going to be the face in the sky. Because if God did that, and 4 horsemen and all that, fireballs and Antichrist and all that entities taking place in our life experiences, that's the intelligence virus. That's slavery. Intimidation in the form of entities is slavery. And God follows the one law 100%. God exists by it. Therefore, nothing religious will be happening during the awakening era. It's always about physical reality. A reality is there's life everywhere in the universe by God's design, because God designs solar systems that sustain life. Therefore, the awakening era, the signs that Judgment Day will be near, are always the same on every single infant intelligence planet. They're with the help of us from everlasting life. People from EL take part in the awakening era. So that's why one of the first signs is lots and lots of UFO sightings, just like mine. Oh, picture fell. It's on the floor. So this is a photo I took with my phone of a jet that was flying over my house. It wasn't very high at all, and it was going really slow too. But this is a jet. See, it has the jet trail. And I took this May 19th, 2021. As you can see, it looks like a boat. But it's a jet. So those are the kinds of UFOs that you can be expecting. Now, they are showing us God's technology that we have in everlasting life. Like I said, God knows you. God knows how to make us happy. So think of the universe as God's technology. Then, and this is part of free will, God gave its children technology to control his technology, to control the universe. That's why the technology in everlasting life is so incredible and so much fun. And part of the gives us free will from God is that we don't have to ask God for anything. We have everything. You can live in everlasting life, never ever speaking to God. You have to meet God on Judgment Day, yes. But when you join EL, you have no obligation to seek your Creator. God will never seek you. Like I said, there's always an exception. Okay, so quickly, like I said, God is our parent. God raises us when we are children, speaks to all of us when we are children in everlasting life. This is true also. But as a parent, if your child is in danger, for example, you're put them to bed and you're doing your chores, they get out of their bedroom, get out of the house, they're heading towards the pond. That is the only time God will seek you, is to, yes, face to God's infinite image. God will pop up and tell you, Askirith, Muna is heading towards the pool. And it is jarring. So we don't want our God to seek us. We don't want that. It's very scary. Like it's a jump scare, okay? So once you join EL, you never have to call Father and speak to Father, face to God's infinite image. You never have to choose yourself to help God raise infant intelligence. You can just live your own life and have nothing to do with God. And there's no hard feelings. But because you live for infinity, there will be a universe cycle where maybe you'll want to have introduce yourself to Father and start developing a friendship with Father. So in EL, we have God's technology. That is what my video, UFO Acrobats, even though the spaceships are moving super fast, I remember piloting those spaceships, and inside the spaceships, it's like normal environment. There's no G-force, none of that. So during the awakening era, which some UFO footage is probably true, but I would pay attention to mine and make a comparison. So it has the reason UFOs have been showing themselves and been the elusive UFOs is that it is near the awakening era. It is, in the last 150 years that people have seen UFOs. Some of them were real, some of them were completely made up, some of them were delusions. But UFOs are always part of the awakening era, and I remember being in everlasting life, and we're faced to God's infinite image, and Father tells us where to show ourselves, so we never see the infant planet. We only see like a grid in the technology, and Father will tell us where to be and what to do, because God designs the awakening era. It's by God's design. It's not that the UFOs, the aliens are choosing on their own where to be and what to do. They're there because Father tells them to be there. So that is always the number one sign. Number two, celestial anomalies, lots and lots of supernova, and they're gonna be of stars that we didn't even know were there. We didn't see them before, because infant intelligence always believe that they are alone in the universe. This is part of seeking the truth, because if infant intelligence saw the real universe, that means we do not see the universe in its entirety. We will on Judgment Day. God will remove the dark matter veil, and the sky will be different at night. So the matter is all there. It is everlasting life. So that has the purpose of infant intelligence must not see the EL life planets and then develop beliefs about their own creation based on that evidence, based on the life that they see. They must seek the truth. And they always do so with the help of people from EL. And of course, the birth of Jesus on that planet. So Jesus points, right? And Jesus teaches, seek the truth. And that means in science as well. And so the dark matter veil also serves the awakening era, in that during the awakening era, God then removes specific parts of the dark matter veil to show us the universe that we otherwise cannot see. And that's part of proof. And the reason for that, of course, is so that you believe it and that you make the choice to wake up on Judgment Day. So celestial anomalies could be supernova, kilonova, but it's always going to be of events that we would consider unusual, or at least unusually frequent. So expect to see a lot of supernova. So right now I know Betelgeuse, we're expecting Betelgeuse to go supernova, but remember, during the awakening era, it's going to be of stars that we didn't even know were there. So they're going to be coming from darkness. And Soul Speak with the help of us from Everlasting Life. Now, Soul Speak pertains to how sound, and this includes music, has the ability to change our thinking, therefore our feeling. So I think, therefore I feel. And music has that ability to even manipulate us, right? And so know that people from Everlasting Life take part in Soul Speak, and this is what we do. We are in the spaceships, so the sound is coming from the spaceships. We speak into a microphone, and we say things that we wish to tell infant intelligence, because first contact is not allowed, not until Judgment Day. And we say things like, come join us in Everlasting Life. Just give up the intelligence virus. You know, Judgment Day is coming. If you don't give up the intelligence virus, you may die. So we say anything we want to say. Some of those things may come across through, and then the spaceships, the technology puts out the sounds. Okay, it creates, and somehow it has it can, when we then hear it as infant intelligence, it can make us feel, certain way. So yes, sometimes they will be sounds of warning. Sometimes it's an invitation. Sometimes it's happy. So Soul Speak is always part of the awakening era. And know that for the UFO sightings and the Soul Speak, I'll remember this as infant intelligence on my planet. People would get together and have prayer groups. So speaking to God out loud. God does not read our minds. And we just talk to God and, pray for Judgment Day. That's what people prayed for on my infant intelligence planet. And pray to see the proof or hear the proof. And then they would get together at night in groups to a certain location. So during the prayer, they would tell Father, we will be here and here at this time. And then when they got together at that location at that time, the UFOs, us in everlasting life, would then put on shows, light shows, with our spaceships for the prayer groups. And that was part of the proof. And actually, from what I remember, even though people prayed to hear soul speak above my city, it's not gonna be everywhere. Kind of wish, but God knows what he's doing. God, some people will never choose themselves for everlasting life. It doesn't matter how much proof there's gonna be. So soul speak is sounds of technology. So you will know it's unearthly. You will know it's not natural. You can tell. It's in us that we can tell. Now, like I said at the beginning, Earth is really, really bad. The intelligence virus, slavery, is very prevalent on the Earth. And God knew this. And God knew also how distracted we are. And how many of you would ignore the 4 signs? That's all that's needed on other infinite intelligence planets. Is only those 4 signs that Judgment Day is near. I forgot infinite intelligence discovers the first planet with life on it. Of course, that's one of the signs during the awakening era on every single infinite intelligence planet. Infinite intelligence always believe that they are alone in the universe until the awakening era, when they discover the first planet with life on it. And that is always using a video of UFOs that the awakener takes. Just like my UFO acrobats video is part of the awakening era proof. It's not that I'm special in any way, okay? It's just part of the proof that people who are looking for planets with life on them, one of them will find the planet using my video, UFO Acrobats. So I took the video summer 2021. I had my second awakening experience a few months later, January 2022. And that is when God told me through memories again how special that video is, and that its purpose is as part of the awakening era to find the first planet with life on it. So, but the intelligence virus is very, very prevalent. Distractions, video games, drugs is very prevalent. And right now, division. People are spending a lot of their intelligence thinking about race and, gender and all those types of things. God knew this. God does not want to lose children to these kinds of distractions. And so God has decided to activate his backup plan, because sometimes this happens. Sometimes human beings, which all aliens are human beings, sometimes infinite intelligence human beings are very, very passionate and extremely creative, imaginative. Okay? And this passion is why some people are so super religious, because we fall in love with our beliefs, and then we will do anything to prove that our beliefs are the truth. Now remember, the truth is not your personal experience. You're allowed to your truth, your interpretation of life. The truth is physical, and we are obsessed with the truth even when we live lies. Therefore, the most dangerous thing you can do is fall in love with your beliefs. You should always check your beliefs, because you might be living a lie. And when you live lies, there's a chance you're living the intelligence virus. So yes, passion and creativity is part of our design, how we even love our lives in everlasting life. But for infant intelligence, it's that passion and creativity can be very skewed from reality. And this is why there's so much division, because people are so passionate about what they believe is reality. And they think they're done seeking the truth. But we're never done seeking the truth. You should never be done seeking the truth. So God knew this and decided to awaken every single one of you who is from everlasting life. You chose yourself to be here during the awakening era on the earth, even though it is so tough. It's so hard. And like, we're to the point where people don't even care about UFOs. I've seen your videos where it's like you're eating in your car lunch and a UFO lands and you're just like, don't care. Yeah. So God knew this would happen. And this is why the fifth sign that Judgment Day is near is that you might be one of the person who's going to awaken one day. And I believe that day will be on Christmas. I'll get into that next time. Why I believe that, because this video is already too long. And you will wake up with memories from your true existence in everlasting life. But if you are from EL and not just being delusional, you will then experience 3 or 4 physical signs that you are from EL as confirmation that you truly are from everlasting life and you're not just being delusional. But that's those 3 or 4 physical signs. Nothing scary. One of them is incredible. I'll get into that in another video. But now you can see how for millennia we may have been believing delusions by people who maybe they did have a real experience and gain real knowledge about God. But like I said, it is really easy to become delusional. And the experience may have ended and they may have kept it going. From my experience, the actual communication with God is never long. Like I said, my first one was 5 months, but that's by my mistakes. And I can make another video about that, I guess, when more people are watching and whatever. But my second experience was only about a month. So I know in the Bible some people may have been years and decades. That's most likely not real communication with God. That's most likely because of our design, where we self-talk. And when we self-talk, we can also answer. And delusions is a funny thing, because you'll believe that it's real. And so I'm not here to argue. Okay, me and you can argue for eternity about somebody else's experience 2,000 years ago and stuff that was said 2,000 years ago or that happened 2,000 years ago, because we weren't there, so we don't know. So the only things I personally retrieve from the Bible is what Jesus taught, which is 3 important things that are the most important. Seek the truth, don't have slaves, do good deeds. It's the only thing that shines from the Bible. Yes, there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible, and maybe even perhaps some correct history about events that happened at the time. Okay, but to me personally, all I care about is Jesus. So follow Jesus, because copying, remember, writers are the shepherds, readers are the sheep. So Jesus knew he was going to be written about, and he knew he was going to have followers. If you follow Jesus, then that is how you choose yourself for everlasting life. And that is how Jesus is our hero. Because Jesus has helped guide trillions and trillions and trillions of infant intelligence to everlasting life. And then, yes, Jesus will be back the day after Judgment Day, not to judge. You are self-judging. God does not judge. Jesus will not judge. You are self-judging. Earth is your purgatory. That is when you choose yourself for EL. And once the earth is cleansed, then Jesus will be back the day after Judgment Day. Not to judge, but to meet every single one of you that chose everlasting life. And in that way, God does not seek us, but Jesus seeks us. And in that way, we all know Jesus. I have a memory. I have my memory of meeting Jesus in everlasting life. And of course, that's all in my book, Judgment Day and Thereafter, which is finished. I just have to do a last edit and proofread, and then I'm going to be publishing it free on Amazon. I want everybody to read it for free. It's not a lengthy novel, and it's going to include all of my writing. And then I have other plans for the awakening era on Earth, including in that I designed an app that's gonna help you make real money. I know everybody says that, but trust me. And then I've also designed videos to that go alongside my book, to music that you can find on my channel as Gareth. The playlist is called Judgment Day and Thereafter Soundtrack. So after you read the book, you can listen to the music and wonder what I have planned to that. So I'm gonna finish the video here. I hope that I've roused your curiosity. And I just, I know nobody's really listening, and that's what kind of worries me, is that nobody cares about my UFO videos. They've been on my channel for a few years. I don't know how people make UFO videos go viral, but the only way the 4+1 signs will happen is when people are aware. So when most of us know about the signs, because if you saw all the UFO footage that's going to be happening during the awakening era, if we saw it now, people would believe different reasons as to why it's happening. So my book, I hope Judgment Day and Thereafter, is read by a lot of people so that the awakening era will finally start happening. That's all I want. I am done with being ruled by men and women. So I hope to see you soon. Have a good day and peace.